Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abhishek and today is day 13 of solving Geeks for Geeks problem of the day. Today's question is sorting elements of an array by frequency. So the question says here that given an array integer ARR, sort the array according to the frequency of elements. That is, elements that have higher frequency comes first. If the frequency of two elements are the same, then the smaller number comes first. So the question is straightforward. Let's see an example to understand the approach. The given example here is 55464. We need to take the frequency of each and every element. We need to compare the highest frequency number, and that particular number should come first, followed by the numbers whose frequency is less than the previous integer. So here the frequency of 5 would be 2, frequency of 4 would be 2, and 6 would be 1. Since here the two elements have same frequency, we need to consider a number whose value is less than another value. So here 4 is less than 5, so 4 should come first and then followed by 5. So the answer would be 4, 4, 5, 5 and finally 6. Similarly, second example contains value 9, 2, 5. The frequency of 9 is 3, the frequency of 2 and 5 is 1. So the highest frequency value is 9, that is 3, and so we need to consider 9 value first and then we'll consider 2 and 5. Since 2 and 5 has same frequency, we'll consider the value which is least than the other. So the value 2 comes first and then followed by 5. So the brute force approach of this question would be to use frequency array. We'll calculate the frequency of each and every array using two for loops, and then we'll finally sort that particular frequency array, and then we'll loop again through that frequency array and find the values whose frequency is greater, and if their frequencies are same, then we'll consider the value who is least than the other value. So before moving to the code, let's try run this approach. So initially our vector would be 55464. We'll store the values and its frequencies in the form of vector of pair, and so after running the two loops, we'll get the values as 5, 2, 5, 1, 4, 2, 6, 1 and 4, 1, and we'll sort this vector of pair according to its frequency and the conditions which are explained in the question. So after sorting the particular vector of pair, we'll get values 4, 2, 4, 1, 5, 2, 5, 1 and finally 6, 1, and finally we'll refill the particular array using an index 0, and we'll store these values according to its frequency. Since we are having values repeatedly, we'll skip those values once a particular value is being refilled in the array. So we'll handle that condition using a while loop, where we'll compare these two particular values to the next value. If both values are same, we'll skip the second part. So let's see the code, how it goes. So here's the code. Initially we have taken the size of an array and stored it in variable n. We have taken a vector of pair and named it as frequency, whose size would be the size of an array. We'll count the frequency of each and every element using two for loops, and parallelly we'll store the frequency and element value in the vector of pair. We'll sort the particular vector of pair using a sort function, and we'll use a custom comparator where we'll compare both values frequency, and if their frequencies are equal, we'll compare those two values and we'll consider the value which is less than the next value. And after sorting that vector of pair, we'll refill the array based on sorted frequency. We'll take the help of index, which initially starts from 0. We'll grab those two values, element and frequency. We'll fill the array based on frequency until or unless it becomes 0, and we'll skip remaining occurrences of same element using this while loop, and finally we'll return that particular array. So let's compile and run. So let's submit. As you can see, this code gives time limited exceeded, because here we are using two for loops which takes O of n squared time to find the frequency of each and every element. We can optimize this approach using unordered map, and the code remains same for everything else. So in this way, we can reduce the time complexity of finding the count of the frequency of each and every element and store those values in the form of vector of pair. So let's see the optimized approach code, and we'll check whether it gets submitted successfully or not. So here's the optimized approach code. Here we have taken an ordered map and we'll count the frequency of each and every element, and we'll convert all these maps value in the form of vector of pair. We'll sort the function and the vector of pair using custom comparator. Here I have refactored the code and written it as a separate function, and finally we'll generate the result based on sorted frequencies. Here, since here why we are not using while loops, because the unordered map handles those repeated value. So we'll refill the particular array and finally we'll return that array. In this way, we have optimized the time complexity of finding the frequency, and the space complexity would be O of n. So let's compile and run. Let's submit. As you can see, this problem got solved successfully, and we have written the code as expected time complexity given in the question in the form of n log n, and we have used the space complexity of O of n, which they have expected, like to use any kind of extra space. So in this way, we have solved this question. It was pretty straightforward. I hope you like this video and my explanation. If so, please give it a like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.